Trump's claim that he will end the war in 24 hours, obviously is hyperbole, but that it's based on the idea that he will drive for a settlement quickly, and that part of the process there will involve putting pressure on Russia to end the conflict, because they are aware that if Trump comes into office and says, "I'm going to end the conflict," that's not exactly a tough negotiating position for Russia to find themselves in.
I think the Trump administration has said that Trump has said that his administration will take a different approach to the conflict in Ukraine. But I on individual actions like the use of this weaponry, I don't think we know, and I think a lot is going to depend as well on the personnel that he continues to appoint to his administration.
Jerry, his son, Donald Jr., not noted for his geopolitical thinking, has said that it looks like Biden's out to start World War III. Do you think that reflects Mr. Trump's thinking?
Like Molly, Andrew, I don't know. I'm speaking to some of the people around Trump on the foreign policy side. They've been saying for a time that, Trump's claim that he will end the war in 24 hours, obviously is hyperbole, but that it's based on the idea that he will drive for a settlement quickly, and that part of the process there will involve putting pressure on Russia to end the conflict, because they are aware that if Trump comes into office and says, "I'm going to end the conflict," that's not exactly a tough negotiating position for Russia to find themselves in. So part of the idea has been that they would threaten to significantly escalate the amount of assistance to Ukraine in order to get Russia to the negotiating table and get something done. So on that basis, you might say, that this would actually be in line with what Trump wants to do, that is to increase the assistance and the pressure on to assistance to Ukraine and the pressure on Russia. That said, Trump himself and I suspect Donald Jr.'s observations are probably closer to what Donald Trump himself actually thinks, which is that he wants that war to end, and that by putting pressure on Russia, maybe forcing them perhaps to respond and to escalate themselves, that's not the way to go. But we'll have to see with Trump's. This is a bit of a mystery. Trump has remained pretty quiet on Ukraine, really pretty well throughout the campaign. So
Yes.
we'll have to wait. So we've got to wait and see whether ultimately it'll be up to him, obviously, and we don't know what he thinks right now.
Molly, last week Boris Johnson, who was in the States, said that some Republicans have quite a weird homoerotic fascination with President Putin. But he also insisted that Mr. Trump would not force Ukraine to surrender or agree a one-sided peace deal. But we don't know the basis on which he's claiming that, and we've seen what Mr. Trump said in the past. As Jerry says, it's a major foreign policy issue, and we don't really know, do we, how Mr. Trump's going to proceed?
No, we don't. I mean, throughout the campaign, he made various noises that were seen as, less friendly to American assistance to Ukraine, and it was in deference to his posture that the House and Senate struggled with Ukraine aid for many months, and Republicans in particular were largely opposed to it, although they did finally get it over the line after many months of wrangling. It was interesting that over the course of this debate, many of the most sort of pro-Trump lawmakers were leading the opposition to Ukraine aid, but Trump himself never actually came out in explicit opposition. And while his comments, as Boris Johnson said, have been relatively more friendly to Putin, and he has, in his first term also advocated for a friendlier relationship between the United States and Russia. He hasn't been very clear about exactly how he wants to pursue what he says is going to be an easy negotiated settlement to this conflict. So I think we're all waiting to see how he approaches it and what exactly he calls for in this area.
We are indeed. And Jerry, Elon Musk now has a job in government. He seems to be advising Mr. Trump on various top-level appointments. I'm told it's causing some friction with other Trump advisors. He sat in on phone calls with Ukraine's Zelensky and Turkey's Erdogan. Is this wise?
No, I think not. Elon Musk, for a number of reasons, I don't think Elon Musk probably's advice on how to deal with Russia is likely to be disinterested, in the sense that he has had business interests, well, both with Ukraine and Russia, and also that I don't think he's probably got the necessary geopolitical wisdom to be able to tell Donald Trump what to do. He's clearly got this sort of roving job right now. He literally accompanies Donald Trump everywhere. He came up to New York with him for the big UFC fight at Madison Square Garden and a small crowd of them. He's the kind of, the impression I think that some people are getting is that he sees himself as a sort of co-president. Now, if there's one quick way to earn yourself a very quick exit from the Donald Trump team, it will be to in any way to give the impression that you're a co-president. I feel this is almost certain to end in tears and probably very quickly. Musk is getting way over his skis, giving himself way too much authority, way too much sense of importance, publicly going online and talking about who should be Treasury Secretary. This is extraordinary behavior from a private citizen who, as you say, he may take this role which will be not an official government role of improving government efficiency, but he's not. He's a private citizen. He doesn't have any. He wasn't elected to anything. He's not any sort of formal member of the Trump administration that's likely to be formed. And it's just remarkable for him to be out there making all these noises. So I suspect that this, Trump has a notoriously short span for tolerating people around him, even people who actually defer to him all the time. So I have a feeling this relationship won't last very long.
Molly Hyde, what do you think? I kind of sense that Jerry's right, that it'll almost certainly end in tears. We just don't know when. How long do you think this bromance will last?
Well, Trump is clearly quite enamored with Elon Musk, sees him as a genius. Musk, of course, also was very important to the campaign, having spent around $200 million on get out the vote efforts and campaigning himself across Pennsylvania. So he's proven himself loyal and useful as a member of the team. But as Jerry says, he's now trying to exert influence in ways that may or may not be welcome. Certainly, Trump has a long track record of putting people in their place when they try to exert influence over him. So we shall see. I think this infighting over the Treasury Secretary position, it'll be very interesting to see where that ends up. As Jerry said, Elon has been out there publicly advocating for his candidate, and we know that behind the scenes, there's a tug of war going on between the various candidates. And while this all seems like an episode of a reality show, it obviously has major consequences for the American economy. And one of the things being debated is the extent to which whoever's put in that position will be friendly either to traditional Wall Street prerogatives or to Trump's more exotic positions regarding tariffs and so on. So as we wait for these key economic positions to be filled, I think we're looking for signals for how aggressive this administration is going to be in pursuit of some of Trump's less traditional economic positions. And that has major consequences far beyond, who Trump's hanging out with at Mar-a-Lago.
Indeed. It certainly does. Jerry, Trump said yesterday he's going to declare a national emergency, use the U.S. military to carry out mass deportations of illegal immigrants. Can he really do all that? Can he do it by executive action, executive order?
Yeah, he probably can. I mean, there are questions, and there will be legal challenges to all along the way as to what exactly Trump can do with executive authority. But people who are here illegally, especially people who have already been judged to be suitable, in fact, people who should be deported, and there are something like over 1.5 million people like that who are not just sort of avoided the system or are on these rather strange legal procedures the US have, which are called catch and release. But there are significant numbers of people who have been declared to be unlawfully here. There is that's an enforcement issue. That's not a policy issue. It's not legislation. That's something that the executive is responsible for enforcing. So I think in terms of his legal authority, he could do it. In terms of the practicalities, that's probably something else. I mean, firstly, there might be some pushback from people in the military. This is one of the reasons there's so much interest in his plans for the military, which he's talking about. And secondly, there'll be some pushback presumably from citizens groups, and indeed possibly from jurisdictions in the United States who may try and do it. And thirdly, it's just a difficult process to try and round up at least, let's say 1.5 million people in the course of a relatively short space of time. But I think he can do it, and I think they will try to do it. I think that is something. Look, this is the issue he campaigned on aggressively. It's the issue on which there is widespread popular support, I should say, that people who are here illegally should be removed. So I think they will make some effort to do that, some serious effort to do it.